back to the Squid Games thing. I'm surprised to hear that it helped your career, because I remember when I was watching it back then, and the talk behind the scenes, everybody was like, oh, the VIPs were like, what was going on, blase, blase. And obviously I've read articles from the actors after the fact, so I understand what happened behind the scenes and why that scene felt so awkward. But would you please tell us what happened with that scene?
I gave an interview for the UK Guardian. Daniel and I and Jeffrey
I'll
all
link
did.
that article down below, by the way.
And I kind of explained a lot of it there. So, I mean, with that one, it's just a matter of, the thing is you have to understand is this is the same in the States. It's the same everywhere. This idea that you're not going to, if you're playing a smaller role, you're not going to get the whole script. You're not going to know what the whole story is. Now, if you just get one little, page of lines and you're doing, a Law and Order show, you get what the show is.
You get the sense of the show.
But if it's a show that's not come out yet and you have no idea what the tone is and you get a script, you try and figure out everything you can from that. So we got this script and it was like really kind of cartoony. And I think the feeling amongst us was that it was like maybe a comedy or something, or. But then I remember I asked the director, and he said, "No, it's serious." So I said, "Okay." So it's very difficult here to figure out how to say a line when it's not written by a native. It's if you're doing a script written by a native speaker of your language, the way it's written is the clue to who the character is.
Right.
That character is somebody who talks like that. That's who that character is, right? But with something like when you're doing something here, that is no clue, because nobody would speak like that. It's that can be very difficult, and so you try to make whatever changes you can, but you can't change too much, or you still. Even if you can put something into a more natural way of saying something, the content of what you're saying also seems a little strange,
wonky,
or you can't change your lines because the actor you're working with needs your specific cues that they've been studying because they're not a native speaker. So it can be a little challenging in that regard. I remember sitting while they were filming somebody else's coverage for a part of the script where the line was like really kind of ridiculous. And I turned to one of the other guys and I said, maybe it's not so bad that we have to wear a mask for this whole thing. And but the thing is that you can't argue with the fact that it was the number one show in the world.
It was the number one show in the world.
So most, people, that's all they care about, that you were in the number one show in the world. So it doesn't matter if anybody liked or disliked my acting or whatever.
That's true. But I've only done one acting script with Joey, actually. And I remember we tried to change certain things, which we did. And we did the script with what we changed as to native English speakers, right? But at the end, we had to run it twice again with how it's exactly written on the script. And I remember when I was reading the article, one of the VIPs from Squid Game, he had said that you guys changed it, but they had to run it again with the original script, and they picked the lines from the original script, which were a little wonky and awkward.
What happened in Squid Game was that I changed a lot of my lines, where I never recorded what was written, and I just generally don't, but I always talk with the director beforehand. I talk to people beforehand, and I try to make changes, and that's the thing. It's when you're operating at that level, when you're doing speaking parts, and you have to get very good at memorizing lines. You don't get your approval for your lines sometimes, until they're setting up the camera and for your scene, and then you get the approval, and then you have to memorize 2 pages and perform it in like 10 minutes, right? That happens very often. So one of the actors had come in not expecting to have to say the lines, expecting that but they weren't somebody who was like a regular here. They just had this like feeling, I do what I want kind of thing. And so, but they weren't having it. Like, I don't know who was shutting him down, if it was the agent, if it was the production or what, but they would not let him change it.
Wow.
And so he was, having to like on the spot, like come up with, he had his whole take on the character of who the character was. And his character in his mind didn't say those things. And so then suddenly he had to be saying those things and figuring out how to say it. And I mean, we're talking, you have a minute to figure it out,
Right.
like the camera's already there, like figure it out. And so with that actor in particular, I think there was a lot of, that was probably very difficult for him. It was not an enviable position to be in.
Oh, I bet.
So,
I bet.
yeah, that can be that can be a real bummer.
Yeah.
I would say this: if you want to act here, you need to accept the fact that you're going to look really bad on camera many, many times. It's just the way it is. That's just. I mean, it's going to happen to every actor anywhere in the world. That's going to happen sometimes. You're going to do something. It's going to be committed to film or video or whatever. And the world's going to see it, or people are going to see it, and you were terrible, and you just have to, accept it.
Just accept it. Because
Yeah.
there's nothing you can do about it, to be honest. Yeah.
I mean, it just happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Some days you don't have it. Some, that's life. It's just that it gets committed. So you can't be
Yeah.
too precious about it. And when people give you crap about it online or whatever, you just have to let it roll off, because either that or give up, because
Oh, okay. So for you, the backlash from being like one of the VIPs in Squid Games, you didn't care, right? You were just like, it happened. It is what it is. I move on.
I totally cared.
Oh, right. You did?
It
Okay,
was
okay.
as soon I had been, I had found an entire, before Squid Game, like a
Yeah.
year before Squid Game, I had found an entire Reddit thread dedicated to trashing me. It's like,
A year before Squid Game?
yeah. Like, I've been in a lot of K-dramas. So like foreigners who are into K-dramas have seen me a zillion times.
Right.
So, and so, yeah, people were like really hating on me. I mean, I've also gotten lots of love as
Right,
well.
of course,
So,
of course.
but when Squid Game started becoming popular, I just got this sense of dread immediately, where I was like, oh my God, this is not going to be good. Because I remembered what it was like shooting,
And you remember how uneasy you are because you were probably like, this is interesting.
Yeah. And so what I could tell was